Good evening. Welcome to Celtic 2, Livingston 0, the Celtic Way post-match reaction. Celtic get back to winning ways. I'm Tony Haggerty, at Haggerty10 on a Twitter handle, and I'm joined by Ryan McGinlay, who's live from somewhere outside Parkhead. Ryan, you look cold and wet, my good friend. How are you?
A bit drier than what it was half an hour ago, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it's not always easier whenever Celtic get a win to do these live videos. You know, they were quite difficult to do the past couple of league games. So, yeah, I've dried up a little bit. And, yeah, it's back to winning ways for Celtic, which is always a good thing.
Yep, 2 second-half goals within 5 minutes. Kyogo Furuhashi and Liam Scales with his first ever goal for Celtic. Ryan, Celtic were better today, weren't they? There was a bit of tempo, there was a bit of intensity. The manager spoke in his after-match press conference, said they played with a bit of anger as well. Started brightly, but it took to the second half, Ryan, 26 seconds into the second half. Kyogo Furuhashi, 9th goal of the season. That was a welcome goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was. Did you say that was Liam Scales' first goal for Celtic, or first goal this season? Because he scored a couple of goals in Andrew's first season. I remember one at Tynecastle in particular, or not Tynecastle, Tannadice. How can I get those two mixed up? But
So he did first goal this season. Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah. Oh, are you still with us, Ryan? Have you disappeared? Computer playing tricks on you, is it? Ryan's screen's frozen, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming back into the room, I believe.
Sorry about that. It's I've got full connection here. It just might be due to the weather, so I might be a bit in and out with regard to my connection. But yeah, it was just going back to Kyogo's goal, a well needed goal for Kyogo in the grand scheme of things. I wanted him to score more than one today, but I'm not going to get too picky considering the amount of or the lack of goals that he's been scoring recently. Take them whenever they come, and Kyogo got his goal out. And Brendan Rodgers was talking about he's only 3 behind what he would be at this point last season, which is an interesting point to make.
Yes.
But he said that he would have been disappointed that he hasn't scored more this season. Hopefully this is the springboard that Kyogo needs to move on and score some more goals, starting at Dens Park on Tuesday and then against Rangers that weekend as well. But it's good for him to get off the score sheet. Not sure if it was a pass or a shot from Palma, but it was in that sort of area where it's undefendable, and Kyogo was there to put the finishing touches on it.
Yes, indeed. It was a real striker's goal, I thought, Ryan, to be fair. You know, he timed his run well and he kept himself onside, which was really impressive. And it's what he needed, because he ran to the ball and he grabbed the ball and he kissed the ball, and it was more relief than anything, wasn't it, for him?
Definitely was more relief for him. And I think there's a relief from the support as well. The fact that Kyogo is now not off the mark, because he scored goals earlier on this season, but that goal drought is away now. And that can only be a good thing moving forward. The fact that your striker's now scoring goals once again. It was a good finish. You know, he stabbed it home or jabbed it home or whatever you want to call it. But it's one of those goals that he needed something like that to come for him, and he certainly got it. And it was 1-0. And at that point, you felt like the game was over, even though it was 1-0. You felt that Celtic were in the driver's seat, and they would get more goals in the game.
Yeah, correct. I thought they missed a few chances today, Ryan. I think that was the kind of only kind of negative for me, that they did miss a few chances in front of goal. And I think the manager said that their play didn't get the goals they deserved. I kind of agree with that as well. But gladly they won 2-0 today, but they can't keep affording to miss chances like that. Some of them were gilt-edged, weren't they?
Yeah, especially that chance in the first half that you messaged to me was an absolute sitter.
Yeah.
Kyogo, he seems to get... It's just him and the goalkeeper looks as if he's just going to pick the ball out of the empty net. Kyogo gets a weird connection on it. I'll need to see it again. I've only seen it once. But it stays in play and it actually goes back out to Luis Palma. It was a really, really weird connection. And then Maeda was in the same sort of position later on in the first half. I think it was a really good defensive tackle by one of the Livingston players. At least I think it was a defensive tackle. That's what it looked like from where I was sitting. But it was a really good chance for Maeda as well.
Yeah.
Yes, there was chances in the first half, but at half time I did tweet that I was concerned because I expected more of a response. I know they did play a lot better than they did against Hearts, but it was the bottom side in the league. I want Celtic to really be on the front foot and punishing this team for all the mistakes that they were making, because the amount of unforced errors that Livingston were making at the back in terms of swinging at a ball and missing or misplaced passes, Celtic have got to prey on that and get goals off of that. But it seems as if they listened to what the manager said, because it was within minutes. Kyogo got that goal. It was so quick.
26 seconds after the restart.
There you go.
It was timed that, Ryan. So made a big deal of that. But I was just delighted for Kyogo himself. It's a big goal for him. It's a big goal for the team. But Celtic seemed to get impetus from that, didn't they? And should have won by more than 2. Second goal, brilliant Palma delivery on the set piece. Excellent back header from Scales. And the manager also said they've been working on set pieces because it's an area that they can do better in, both for and against. So clearly that was because Simon Donnan mentioned a thing on the Celtic TV. He was saying that a lot of the time he thinks Palmer's trying to score with these set-piece deliveries from corners. But he said they put it right into that area where somebody is attacking it. That's what happens. And I think Celtic don't do enough of that, Ryan. So it was interesting to hear that the manager had said they'd worked on a few things. So again, going back to what we were talking about pre-match, I think a lot of things were spoken about last week, Set-piece delivery's been one of them as well. And as I say, get that reaction from the team today. Brendan Rodgers said they played with a bit of anger. That intrigued me. So that seems to me that they did have those discussions, and I think a lot of home truths were said, and I think there was a wee bit of anger floating around a lot of the players because they're not used to losing 2 games in a row.
Yeah, they had a lot of time to think about it as well, from 7 games from the Hearts game to the Livingston game today. They had plenty of time to recuperate, recover from the game, but also think about what their next move was in terms of getting back on track in the league. Certainly did that today. The performance, parts could be better. I think Brendan Rodgers may be overstating it slightly. I thought it was an okay performance from Celtic today. It could be a lot better. It can be a lot better. Hopefully it will be a lot better. But, at the same time, I don't want to go in on them too hard because they still got the result. It was fairly comfortable for the last half hour, 35 minutes because of those early goals, and Celtic could basically just put the gear stick in first gear and just motor along to the finish line. Livingston really showed nothing in an attacking threat whatsoever. You could see what their game plan was, and they were beginning to get a bit of joy in the first half as they were moving up the pitch just ever so slightly, trying to get some of their bigger players. Of that, there is many. They've got a very, very tall team, and that comes across when you're live at the game. The likes of Nubley. I'm sure there's some other players that I could name, but their names escape me. But Nubley in particular up front, he is a big force, and he wins a lot of his headers. I think they were probably looking for their corners or their free kicks, any opportunity to get that ball into the box. I know it sounds agricultural, but that is their game. If they could do that, then one of their players could have got a header on the ball. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and Celtic managed to keep them within range, and they got the win without much of a fuss in the second half. You'd say it was a bit turgid in the first half, but they turned it on for a good 5-10 minutes in the second half, and that was enough to secure the victory.
First half an hour, I thought they were okay, Ryan. There wasn't an intensity there, and there was a bit of a tempo. But once they didn't score after half an hour, they kind of reverted to type the past couple of weeks, didn't they?
Spoke about that, didn't we, before the game as well?
Yeah, there was a kind of collective gasps at half-time, wasn't there? Not saying there was like booing and stuff, but you could feel the tension rise in the stadium, couldn't you? As Livingston started coming forward more in the last kind of 5-10 minutes of the first half, and I think everybody was thinking, if Celtic don't score, we're in bother here, But come out the second half and just put it to bed within the first 5 minutes of the second half, 6 minutes of the second half. So that's what I liked about it. Could have scored more, but they just kind of cruised after that, didn't they? Really, didn't need to go hell for leather from that sense. Now, comment coming in, Michael Ross. Maestro 95. Any update in Iwata? No, there's no update in Iwata because nobody asked the question. Well, certainly not from what I've seen. He has a muscle injury, so I'm led to believe. So, but there's been no update on Iwata because nobody that I've heard on certainly wasn't asked it on Celtic TV. Don't know if he was asked it on Radio Scotland as of yet. Could have been too busy writing up other Q&As which are on the website for you to see just now. If you want to log on to the website. But yeah, Ryan, I mean, you could be sitting here, complaining about various things. Job done, 1 out of 4, 3 to go. There was an intensity about the performance. They've won 2-0. All the positive. Kyogo's back amongst the goals. Liam Scales gets his first goal in the Brendan Rodgers era. And Palma, a couple of more assists for Palma. You were very impressed with Palma, weren't you? So confidence levels are slowly rising. It's kind of on an upward trajectory, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to take the rough with the smooth with Palma. You know that a lot of these balls are going to hit the first man or they'll go out of play. But what I like the most about Palma is that he never stops doing that. He's a very much an Ange Postecoglou mantra player. He doesn't stop. He never gets too deterred by the fact that his deliveries maybe aren't up to scratch because he'll keep on going. Also very handy the fact that Brendan Rodgers can speak Spanish as well. So I wonder if Brendan Rodgers was maybe speaking to him at half-time individually to say, you've got the beating of your man. I think it was Jason Holt was one-on-one with him a couple of times. The former Rangers player did not want anything to do with Palma whatsoever. That was a mismatch whenever the two of them came together. It looked as if Palma was going to get the beating of his man every single time. I couldn't name the fullback that was coming up against him on the day, but Palma, especially in the second half, looked to want to watch basically because he was getting joy every single time he was running. I'd be quite interested to see how Palma would play as a more central player. Maybe that could be his position in the long term.
As a 10, something like that.
Yeah, because I think his goal contributions are like that of a number 10 because he gets goals, he gets assists. His goal contributions are very, very good. It seems to be like a running competition between Matt O'Reilly and Luis Palma for the amount of goal contributions. Conversely, you could talk about Matt O'Reilly. It's probably one of the quietest games I've ever seen him have today. He was but the midfield. It was quite weird. It was 2-0.
He had a great clearance from about 3 inches out. Really early on in the game, he just caught it all wrong. He kind of stretched his foot out and came off his foot that way, and he meant to put it in the net. He was really unlucky, and I think if that goes in, that would have set the tempo as well, because that was really early on. And again, I don't necessarily say Celtic struggled to break them down. They got there in the end, but after that half an hour and they've not scored, it's you kind of. I think there's a kind of collective gasp in the crowd. You can hear it. I heard it today. That started to get moans and groans. Disgruntled, Ryan. You were there, so what was the atmosphere like? Was it a lot better? Certainly.
It was a lot better because the Green Brigade and the boys were back.
Yeah.
It felt like a bigger game coming into it than any of the other games Celtic have played previously without the two fan groups. So when I was walking up the stairs to my seat in the North Stand upper, you could feel the atmosphere. You'll Never Walk Alone was playing as well, which was, I've got a bit of a controversial opinion with You'll Never Walk Alone. I think you've got to keep it for the big games. Now, if Livingston at home was a big game, considering Celtic lost past 2 games, and I'm all for that, but I'd much rather keep it for the big games, keep it for Champions League nights, keep it for Rangers games as well. That means it's more special when it does come out. But there did seem to be a better atmosphere today. You've got the constant singing and chanting of the Green Brigade, and the boys were trying their best to make sure that was a thing as well. And they kept going for the 90 minutes, and I definitely think it helped the players on the pitch. The crowd did get a wee bit tetchy, and you're right in the sort of the gasps around about the half an hour mark. When things weren't happening, some of the passes were quite lax. Greg Taylor was struggling in the first half. I thought he rallied himself and had a better second half, but first half he wasn't at the races. The same could be said for McGregor probably as well. Some of his passing was a bit wayward, you could say. it was a better atmosphere than what it was, because I don't think it could get any worse than last week. You know, anything was going to be an improvement on last week. It was, no two ways about it. It was toxic last week. So the fact that there was that togetherness and that willingness in the second half, you know, there was a bit of booing at half time. I will say that I did hear booing at half time, but that was more. It wasn't a unified boo. It was like there was some people cheering, some people booing, and you know, people get the right to their opinion and expressing their opinion.
Yep.
But there was a unified stance when the team came out for the second half. It was like, right, the boots are back on, and Celtic need to go and get those 3 points. And, you know, it took them, 20 seconds to go and get that opening goal. And I think that helped, the fact that the crowd were united, the crowd were making noise, and they were goading them forward to get into forward areas, and they certainly did.
I'm a traditionalist, Ryan. I'm no having your no playing You'll Never Walk Alone. It's tradition at Celtic. Every game has been there for as long as I can remember, and it stirs the blood, regardless of who the opposition is. It doesn't really matter.
But that's the thing, it's not in every game, though.
It's a wonderful football anthem, Ryan. Come on.
I absolutely agree.
Name me a better one, all right? And I just think
none.
If you're a older Celtic supporter, say like that, like myself and others, you know, I just think it's tradition. There are some traditions you cannot dispense with. I think it's a wonderful football song, and regardless, it's an emotional song. I just think when you're in that stadium, that's what connects you. That's the tie that binds, and you stand there every game or every home game, regardless of the opposition, and that song comes on, and I defy anybody not to feel emotional about it, regardless if winning, losing, drawing. It's that song that gives you the hope, that makes you proud to be a Celtic supporter. So that's just my own thoughts. I'm not going to roll about the deck with you about that. You know what I mean? So that
I completely agree with you, Tony.
So, and it's maybe an ageist thing with me, you know. But you know me. I'm a romantic, hopeless romantic, optimist, and a traditionalist. So I'm all for keeping. You'll Never Walk Alone for every game. As people say, every game's a big game when you play for Celtic. So that's the argument for that, isn't it?
The only reason I'm saying it is because it doesn't get played every game anyway. There's some games that it doesn't get played in the maybe because it's Christmas time it got wheeled out, and that was the case. And if that is the case, thinking back on it, then that would be a good time, because Christmas is a time about being together. Yeah. There's a ton of the Green Brigade, so you know I get that, but it's I love it. It's like you're charming me here with your argument, is what I'm trying to say. But that's the thing. If it was getting played every single game, then that'd be absolutely fine. It's just the fact that some games it hasn't, and for example, I wouldn't want it against Bucky Thistle, because that's not going to be a sellout. And I think a big part of the You'll Never Walk Alone is the crowd participating with the scarves in the air.
But I also think for the likes of Bucky Thistle, the romance of the cup, that's part of the Celtic Park experience for a lot of the guys. They want to hear that, regardless of how many's in the stadium. I think, you know, as I said, there's some traditions you can't dispense with, and I would play it to let those guys hear it as well. And you know, because they're never going to experience Celtic Park in all its splendour and glory ever again, are they? So days like that, I would certainly play it. You know, and you know, give these guys a day to remember. As long as you don't forget to go and get the result, that's the thing. And
absolutely,
it doesn't spur Bucky Thistle on, you know. But against any opposition, I saw a clip the other day of Jock Stein. Somebody put it up online, and I remember seeing it. I've seen it many times throughout the years, but even Jock Stein said that he drummed it into the players that they could lose their next game all the time, and that's when Celtic were a dominant force, not just domestically but in European football. And I think he said it after Partick Thistle would beat them in the 1971 League Cup final. Not just beat them, they hammered them 4-1. And you know, and that's a reminder all the time that you have no divine right to win football matches, Celtic or not. And, you know, and you do certain things, and you know, there's certain traditions, and you make sure that, you know, you do your preparation is 100%. And that's part of the preparation, I believe, that playing songs like that. As I say, That's just my opinion. Yours is maybe slightly different, but yeah. But there you go. But I'm just delighted today that they kind of got back to winning ways, got the confidence levels up. We spoke about it on Monday that come this time on Saturday night, we wanted to feel better about ourselves, Ryan. I think Celtic supporters are feeling better about themselves if they can go to Dundee and beat Dundee on Boxing Day. They will feel much better about themselves, and then they take it on to next Saturday, don't they? So Dundee's the next one at a time, and see what happens there.
Yeah, hopefully they get all the water out of Dens Park. I was actually watching a wee clip from, I think it's Tony Docherty, that was he was saying he was doing like 90-minute. He was about to undergo like a 90-minute training session, just to keep the fitness levels up, because obviously the game get cancelled like an hour before kick-off with Aberdeen, so you don't know if that'll be a positive or a negative for Dundee going into that game. The fact that they won't have that preparation. The fact that they might have more preparation in that regard, but yeah, it'll be an interesting one. The fact that they had prepared, and then an hour before the game it doesn't happen. That must shift the mindset ever so slightly for those players. Yeah. But hopefully, Dens Park is okay for the visit of Celtic on Tuesday afternoon, and Celtic can get another 3 points because it's baby steps. I think Celtic can definitely play better than what they did today. But they still got the win. They did enough to beat their opponents, and at the moment it's all, we're at the business end of the season. I always say that we're always in the business end of the season with Celtic, just due to the climate that they find themselves in, that they have to win the Scottish Premiership. But this is the business end. It has to be 4 wins out of 4 in this, and they've got 1 so far. So 1 out of 4, they're a quarter of the way there. They can get the next one on Tuesday against Dundee at Dens Park. Fingers crossed they can do that.
Now, another thing that people might have noticed today or didn't notice, but it was Cameron Carter-Vickers' 100th game for the club. So big up to Cameron Carter-Vickers. He strolled through it in his usual way. There was one
bit in particular. I don't know if you've seen it on the video. The striker that came up against Cameron Carter-Vickers, it's almost as if he didn't have a chance. Yeah, he didn't have a chance against them. He did a wee swerve or a wee movement. He's so good at that, and that's maybe where his height is sometimes going to his advantage, because he's got a bit of a lower centre of gravity than taller defenders.
That just reminded me of an adult taking the ball off his kid. Like a dad taking the ball off his son. Just like, give it to me, son. I'll show you to just like out the road. It was brilliant out the touchline. I remember I mentioned it in the instant analysis. He just kind of shrugged Bruce Anderson out the road, and I think Bruce Anderson got the kind of Bobo Baldi factor there, didn't he? With Big Cam, Bruce was like, not for me, not a day, that kind of thing. But he's been outstanding. I believe his parents were there watching it as well. So
brilliant.
So I'm delighted for him. And I said in the instant analysis, I think you could count on the fingers of your one hand the amount of times in those 100 games that he's let you down. I can't really, none of them really spring to mind, to be fair. But so yeah, he's been an outstanding and solid stopper for Celtic, and he'll be lauded and up there with some of the best defenders in the history of the club, because I just think he's brought a real calmness, a reassurance, a rock solid presence, and he's been fantastic since he arrived. So 100 games, it's no mean feat, Ryan, to do that for any club, but to do it for a club like Celtic and be as consistent as he has, I think that warrants a special mention.
In my opinion, this is another hot take, I've got plenty of them tonight. He's Celtic's best modern day defender in terms of centre backs, and I've watched Virgil van Dijk, but in terms of the last, if you start from 2000, so 23 years, I've been watching Celtic for a good 10, 15 years of them.
Okay, so you're taking from the Martin O'Neill era onwards.
Yeah, I've not seen any better in the centre back position. I just think he's transformational. He's transformational for the whole team. He is so important to everything good about Celtic, both defensively and offensively. He gives the other players that freedom to go and roam and he improves every player that he plays alongside, I think.
Yeah.
Look at Liam Scales. Liam Scales is a completely different footballer when Cameron Carter-Vickers is next to him. He's that safety net. Any player would be lucky to play with a player like Cameron Carter-Vickers. I think
he's a more confident footballer, isn't he? And it was the same with Carol Starfelt, wasn't he? Carol Starfelt, he improved him. So, yeah, totally take that on board. I think that's a hot take. A lot of people say Virgil van Dijk, Maestro in 95's come in and said Big Paulie, but you was that Big Paulie was
modern
before.
day, yeah. Sorry to people who
yeah.
I wasn't around then, guys.
You get all these people, Jason Denier and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, listen, these are all subjective, aren't they? Mayalbi was very good, Valharan was very good, even Bobo, so you can. I think these things are, personal preference for a lot of guys, isn't it? Stubbsy, Big Reaper, but they were just prior to that, weren't they? So, so yeah, I take what you're saying. I think he's been outstanding. I think he's an outstanding footballer. And
I think that's the difference for me. There's good defenders and there's good all-round footballers, and I think Carter-Vickers is the best elements of all of those. That he's the perfect player. The perfect modern centre-back for Celtic, because even though he's not the tallest centre-back in the world, he never loses a header. He's got leap in his game. I think he's a great passer of the ball. He's great in 1v1s. He's a goal threat as well on occasion. I just think everything about the player is just absolutely brilliant. And if you can sign him up to a new deal, that would be the best signing Celtic will make this season.
Yeah. And as much as they lauded Fraser Foster's performance in the cup final against Rangers in the League Cup final, Cameron Carter-Vickers' performance in that semi-final was superhuman before he went in for an operation. He was utterly outstanding, and he made sure that Celtic won that game, and he wasn't losing that day. He just decided before he went on the park, probably decided all week, I'm not losing. And it was noticeable when he left, because Celtic started losing games, didn't they? When he was out the team, went to Ibrox and they get hammered, didn't they? And stuff like that. So, he has been a vital cog in the machine since he came. And I just thought it was worthy of a mention, Ryan. 100 games is an excellent tally for the man. And I think he found a spiritual home at Celtic because he'd led a kind of nomadic lone existence up until then. And, he'd been to, 7 clubs, wasn't it? Or 8 clubs before he eventually came on loan to Celtic. So, and I think it was a kind of marriage made in heaven, wasn't it? He suited us and the club suited him. And, I agree. I think getting Cameron Carter-Vickers tied up would be one of your next ports of call, wouldn't it? If he's willing to do that.
Yeah, that I know there's been, I don't know if it's all just rumours or anything like that, but there has been slight inclinations that he might be close to signing on a new deal. Now, I can't confirm that for sure, but it's like there's no smoke without fire and stuff like this. If that is the case, and Celtic do announce that, if they do that, then I think it'd be such a boost.
You and I would welcome that, wouldn't we? I think most Celtic supporters
open arms.
would as well.
Yeah, I think the guy, he has the difference between Celtic winning and losing. Literally, look at the statistics. When Cameron Carter-Vickers doesn't play for Celtic, Celtic lose games when he's there. When he's not there, and when he is there, they win games. It's black and white with Cameron Carter-Vickers. If he's there, Celtic win games. Even when you look back to last season when he did go in for that operation after that superhuman performance in the semi-final, that Hibs game doesn't happen if Cameron Carter-Vickers is on the field of play, because he calms everybody down.
That was the 4-2 game, wasn't it, at Easter Road?
Yeah, it was a complete mess mess of a game. It was what a lot of the Japanese journalists warned about what Ange football would look like. That was the negative element of it. It was a game that was absolutely crazy. But yeah, 100 appearances. I'm delighted for Cameron Carter-Vickers that he's made 100 appearances. I hope he can make 100 more.
Yes, exactly.
That's more of a hope than an expectancy because he's that good. I don't know. I think there's a bit of arrogance down south because he could very easily ply his trade down south. I'm not trying to sell him or anything like that, but he is. You see some of the centre backs down in England. He is better than a lot of them. He could definitely do a job down there.
They can stay arrogant, Ryan. Hands off.
Absolutely.
Hands off. He's ours. that right? Yeah.
I think he's a captain as well. I think he's a captain on that pitch too.
Well,
McGregor is the captain.
he was given the armband, wasn't he, in McGregor's absence, and under the Postecoglou regime, when he said he was a different kind of captain, wasn't he? So
yeah, because he wasn't as vocal. I remember it was Greg Taylor that was doing the team talks in the huddle, but Cameron Carter-Vickers was this sort of imposing presence as a captain, basically more in terms of an optic view of a player rather than him speaking to the players. Basically, I'm the captain. I'm not going to say anything, but I'm in charge.
I tend to think that if Cameron Carter-Vickers spoke, you would listen. A bit like if Bobo spoke, you'd probably listen, wouldn't it? You know, that kind of thing. And just think there's something about it when it comes from an imposing defender. You kind of listen to what they're saying, don't you? Or maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think defenders, that's just as part of their job. They have to be imposing. If you're not an imposing defender, you're not going to last 2 minutes in a Celtic team. Many Celtic defenders have fallen by the wayside by not being imposing.
Yeah.
Even recent examples like Kobayashi, he's fallen by the wayside because he doesn't have that imposing style that Cameron Carter-Vickers has. Scales is a little bit different. He's a bit of a mixture between the two, but he's doing a really good job as well. I just want to go back to, just quickly before we move on to the next topic, you look back to Cameron Carter-Vickers, he signed on deadline day in 2021 alongside Giakoumakis and Jota. It didn't even look as if Cameron Carter-Vickers was going to sign on the last day of the window until Tottenham couldn't sell him permanently, and they were like, right, we'll put him out to Celtic. So it was a very much like a throwaway loan deal, but all of a sudden he's become this colossus. It really is an incredible story for a player that was so used to going out on loan to finding a home at Celtic, and then being arguably maybe it's not Celtic's best footballer, but he's Celtic's most important player for me.
I've said it before, Ryan. You cannot underestimate personal happiness. I also say players play for Celtic, and people say, they're going to move for money. They don't play for nothing for Celtic. They get handsomely rewarded. They get weighed in. They win things. Lots of players like that. They play at the top level in European football, most years. And lots of players like that. So, personal happiness is a big thing for a footballer, any footballer. And I think they'll tell you when you're personally happy and you are one of the top earners at Celtic, then there are a few better places to play. And the only thing you will move for is a bigger challenge, possibly down south or to one of the better leagues in Europe, or for money. Basically, that's your only motivation for leaving a club like Celtic. So, but Cameron Carter-Vickers certainly seems to have enjoyed it, and big up to him. 100 games, as you say. I hope we're still talking about this when he meets his 200th appearance, Ryan. We'll reconvene on that, won't we? Anything else
Absolutely
catch your eye today, Ryan, in terms of the display, performance, players, managers, coach, anything like that?
I don't think Bernardo took his chance today, to be honest with you. It's another example of that third midfielder not really taking the opportunity that Hatate has left in his absence. It was a start for Bernardo. I just think his touch was off in a couple of moments where the ball just didn't stick to him. And even though O'Reilly had a quiet game, the ball seems to stick to him whenever it's past him, and he's a capable sort of person to distribute to, and then he could distribute to other players. But Bernardo, I think he just got lost. He was picking up some nice areas in the first half, and that we just off of the byline in that wee area, he was picking up a couple of nice moments, or a couple of nice wee spaces in those moments. But nah, I can't think of a shot that he had. I can't think of a big moment that he had. It was a bit of a. I think it says a lot that I picked him as one of the instant analysis, and then I had to scrap it at half time or just after half time because Palma got 2 assists.
We really are playing spin the bottle with this third midfielder, aren't we? Your shot this week, your shot, Turnbull.
Yeah, nobody's taking their chance.
Nobody's grasping the metal, are they? So
and Turnbull came on, and I think he just slows the game down, to be honest with you. I don't want to be too harsh on Turnbull. It may seem as if I go on it, and a lot of the reason for that is because I know there's talent there. But I think he's just. I don't want to say working his ticket, but at the same time, I think he will move on in January. Probably get a nominal fee for him, because either that, it doesn't look as if he's signing a new deal. So I think he'll be going in January for whatever Celtic can get from. Otherwise, he can sign for any other team. He can sign a pre-contract with whoever he wants. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Interesting if the likes of Turnbull does go, would Celtic bring in a player to replace him? You know, they've been linked with Connor Barron in the past. I know he's only got 6 months left in his Aberdeen deal. That could be one. I know that Rangers are interested in him potentially as well.
Sure.
So that could be an interesting one and one to look out for, because he's a homegrown player as well. So that would fulfil that quota.
Yeah. Big Dom coming in. How you doing, Big Dom? Just asked Jota about personal happiness. Correct. And Michael Ross coming in and saying, very true, Tony. I could have played for Celtic or Barca, but was happy playing Sunday League and having his nose broken every week. Reminds me of a wonderful line from a song by an old 70s guy, an old LP that my dad had, a guy called Clifford T. Ward. And the line was, I could be a millionaire if I had the money. There you go, Ryan. I mean, it's can't get more succinct than that, can you? You know?
That's I need to go and check that out now. Put that on my Spotify on the way home.
Clifford T. Ward, his name is. Some people will remember that, yeah. Great opening line to a song.
I don't think there's any other. I'm just thinking if there was any other standouts from the game. It was one of those games that was just decided in 10 minutes, and then the other 85 minutes was a bit lethargic.
Yeah, I mean, the first half you were kind of like a bit worried at half time, and then the first, as you say, 6-10 minutes of the second half, it was, that was it, and it was very routine after that, wasn't it?
It went back to what it was in the first half, but without the worry, because you knew that the game was over at 2-0. Livingston could probably count with one or maybe even just slightly two hands how many times they actually got forward with the ball. That was just their game plan. Their game plan was to sit back and just soak up possession or soak up pressure and then hit Celtic on the counter-attack or get free kicks, as I mentioned before, or a corner. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Celtic weren't really tested in that regard. But yeah, it was there was no pressure in the second half. It allowed Brendan Rodgers to rotate the team ever so slightly, take Palma off. There was no point in playing him longer than he had to play. Kyogo maybe could have stayed on and got a couple of goals, but there was no point in having him on when you can have O for the last 20 minutes. He'll bust a gut for the 20 minutes that he was on the pitch. I think maybe the only other thing was Maeda didn't look fully fit. There was a couple of moments where he's chasing and he's trying to pressure the opponent, and I'm like, if you're fully fit and you're fit and firing, you pressurise and you might even get an interception, but he's just getting back from injury. He's been out for a while. You're hoping that he doesn't do all of his preparation, gets back into full fitness and then gets called up for Japan. That might be the case because of how much Moriyasu likes him in the Japan national team setup, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, Kaiser there, he just Maeda just back. He needs Mark sharpness. He certainly lacked it today, didn't he? In terms of his touch, just seemed a bit off it, but you can cut him some slack for that because it was his first game back. Big Dom, best wishes for Christmas, Tony and Ryan. Of course, Dom, come on now. But best wishes to yourself as well, my good friend. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Hazel Finn's asking us, what about Yang's performance?
I thought he was good when he came on. I thought he was decent.
Yeah.
This is the thing. You want players, if they're starting a game, to be doing the sort of things that they do when they come off the bench in other games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a loan deal would really help him. I'd love him to be a starter, maybe even for a Scottish team for 6 months. Just give him 15, 20 games to play along with, whether that be in the Premiership and the Scottish Cup as well for another team. If a Hibs or something, if they were interested, or maybe even I don't know, even a Kilmarnock, they're riding high at the moment. Somebody like that could harden them up basically and get them match ready for next season, because there's so much talent there.
Get them battle scarred and battle ready, hardened up, as you say.
I call it the Christie programme. The Christie programme.
Or the Ayer programme, one of the two.
Definitely, the two of them are success stories. It just so happens that they're they're best pals off the pitch. So they must be sharing each other's secrets in that regard. I think Yang would need that, to be honest.
Yeah, possibly.
I'm just thinking with players coming back, when Abada comes back, he can provide competition on the left and right hand side. Probably might even start a lot of games on the right hand side with Palma on the left. Then you've got Maeda. I don't know, there might be space for him, maybe even on the bench, to come off and make fleeting appearances, but is that worth a detriment to his career when he could be getting first team football somewhere and getting ready to the standard or getting used to the standard in the Scottish League? If there's a decent loan move in there for him, then I think Celtic should look at it, because there's definitely a good player there.
I think it'd be worthwhile pursuing, wouldn't it? And build up his confidence levels as well. Right, he is only,
and that's
21,
not a slight against the player, but
he's only 21. Remember as well. So but a lot more brighter today and happier, aren't we? Not. It was the top team against the bottom team, and Celtic got there in the end, 2-0. Better result than the two results that followed it, or the two matches that followed it, the Livingston game. So we'll feel better about ourselves if they can go to Dundee and win on Boxing Day. I'll be at that, covering that indeed. But we'll see what happens there. Tony Strain coming in. Here's a bit of a Celtic are in a mess, getting excited over beating Livingston. I thought Brendan Rodgers was brought in to make a difference. Only time he's been successful in this public. He's talked about being a top manager, but he's managed to relegate both Reading and Leicester, but no one talks about that. He's an imposter, says Tony Strain. Well, he didn't relegate Leicester. He left before Leicester were relegated. That's a popular misconception, Ryan. He won the FA Cup with Leicester and he guided them to 2 successive top 5 finishes, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He won 8 out of 8 trophies when he was a Celtic manager, wasn't he? So,
yes,
Tony, you're clearly not a Brendan Rodgers fan, so that's fair enough. But I think words like imposter are, I don't agree with that.
I think it took a lot of guts to come back to Celtic, especially the way he left.
Yep.
So I think he deserves credit in that regard. Yes, his managerial career has been up and down in terms of, people talk about his Champions League record. It takes a good manager to be plying his trade in the Champions League to even get there in the first place. Reading, I think Reading was his first job or his second job. He was at Watford and Reading. Sometimes it takes a couple of managerial spells before they get to their place that they really make that breakthrough, which was certainly at Swansea. To bring them up into the Premier League and to make them a stalwart for a good 8-9 years was some achievement. Went to Liverpool, was unlucky not to win the league. It was a bit of a collapse at Crystal Palace. I seem to remember they were 3-0 up and they drew 3 each.
Yeah.
Leicester, it was a complete success at Celtic the first time. Left for Leicester, was originally a good success, probably a victim of his own success, but by way of he stayed too long. Showed loyalty. The Arsenal job was there basically pretty much for him. They opted to go for Arteta. He stayed. He signed a new deal, and then he didn't get backed in the transfer window, and Leicester get relegated. It looks as if they'll go straight back up, but it wasn't all his fault. And now he's back at Celtic. I'm not saying I'm a Brendan Rodgers fanboy or anything like that, but I don't think he's an imposter. I think that's too harsh a word to be.
That's too harsh.
Top level manager.
Yeah, I mean we've said before, we've mentioned it many times on this programme, we think he's elite level manager. There are people that don't like him, that's fair enough. So, but there you have it. Now that's nearly 45 minutes, Ryan, 44 minutes. I've started some comments here because people have been very, very kind to us. Helen McCallum, Merry Christmas, Tony and Ryan.
Merry Christmas.
Reciprocal, Helen. Hope you have a wonderful time, you and your family. And Dennis Jameson came in, he thinks Haggerty, when he comes back, will be back really firing because Celtic really miss him in midfield. Ryan, you're a Haggerty fanboy, so you've been banging on about that for months. And he comes back in and says, Merry Christmas. Yeah. Tony, Ryan, Hamish, and all in the Celtic way team. That's very kind. Dennis, thank you very much. On you go, Ryan, sorry. Brendan Rodgers was talking about.
But that he's not ruling out Haggerty for the Rangers game.
I know that would excite you. That would be the best Christmas present for you ever, wouldn't it?
Yes. I mean, I've watched this midfield. I've watched nobody take their opportunity in that midfield. Hagggerty's going to walk straight back into that Celtic side if he's fit. That there is no doubt. He's too good not to.
Yeah. Michael Ross, have a magic Christmas, fellow Celts. Hope time that Tony finally gets the train set that he always wanted. Yes, a Hornby train set. That's what I've asked Santa for, indeed. Or Oscar Electric, one of the two. We'll see what happens. Happy Christmas, fellas and ladies. Maestro 95. And You'll Never Walk Alone. Hail, hail 67. Ho, ho, ho. Hail, hail. Merry Christmas. Thank you for that. Claire Best, season's greeting to yourself, Tony, and to Ryan. And eventually it's happened. Last Christmas, finally is number one. Hail, guys. I have to go to work. Enjoy your watch. Plunge McNugget. Merry Christmas, Tony and Ryan, and all the commenters. We'll stop saying Rangers Ryan. There you go. There you have it. But guys, thank you so much. Really kind. Hazel Finn. Merry Christmas, Tony and Ryan. Enjoy. Thank you. Joseph Agnew. Merry Christmas to Tony and Ryan. Have a safe one. God bless all. Keep the faith. Tony, out with the yellow pages. I'm looking for a copy of the Banter. Yes, indeed. Merry Christmas, Ryan, says Michael Ross. There you go. And lots of people just getting in touch. And so there you have it. Yeah, guys, it's been wonderful year following Celtic, hasn't it? With lots of success. Hopefully we continue to have success. And and we hope you've enjoyed being on the Celtic way with us for that year. And all that's left for myself and Ryan to say to everybody is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas when it comes. We'll be back on Boxing Day, pre-match, post-match, Dundee. Some festive cheer today. Celtic beating Livingston 2-0. That's all we asked for. That's what we got. But yeah, have a wonderful time when it comes. And thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. We do appreciate it. We appreciate greatly. It's the most humble thing in the world to get up every morning and talk about this wonderful football club that we all love to bits, and we all, and our fortunes and our moods are intrinsically linked to it. And we appreciate that Ryan and myself are in a privileged position, but we try and provide you guys with the best entertainment out there and the best website and the best analysis, the best videos and the best features and stuff that we can do. We can't do it without your help. It's a subscription-based website, and those subscription fees are a big part of what we do. We do the YouTube videos for free, but if you can subscribe, we'll ask you to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. £4 for 4 months or £18 for a yearly subscription. But yeah, it's a family time, festive time, Christmas time and all that. Have a wonderful time. I hope you all have a fabulous Christmas. Ryan, yourself included in that, my good friend, and thank you for everything that you brought to the channel this year. And
likewise with you, Tony. Really do appreciate your company, and I hope you have a great day on Monday, and then we'll be back on Tuesday to discuss the game against Dundee. Yeah, it never stops.
It never stops. It
may stop for Christmas, but it will never stop. I think it'll be on the mind even on Christmas Day. We're getting ever so closer to that big game on the 30th, and I think everybody's starting to think about it now. So let's just get stuck in, basically.
But it's been a pleasure working with you, fella, and it's been a pleasure every day giving you our thoughts and our pearls of wisdom. Sometimes Norman wisdom on Celtic, but most times Norman wisdom, I guess. But there you go. Yeah, you got that there. So I'm chuffed at that. Yeah. Delighted with that.
Sometimes they stick, Tony.
Yes, it's educational. Now you're going to Google. I know you're going to Google Clifford T. Ward as soon as you come up here. There you go.
Absolutely.
Guys, have a wonderful time. Enjoy it. Have a great Christmas. We'll be back Dundee, Boxing Day. Roll on Dundee, Ryan.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll keep on going.
Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Have a good Christmas.